This is our LiveWIRE talking about revolutionizing customer service with AI agents. If you are busy taking notes, you can wait. We're going to have our marketing people send you over all of the information, slides, and the link to the video so you can go back and review any of this information. Be sure to get any questions in the chat box down below. It's in the lower right-hand corner. Get those in there. We'll go over those as we proceed through this in the question and answer section after we do our demo. So I'd like to get started here.
Hello, my name is Karen and I'm a virtual assistant. How can I assist you today?
Buongiorno, purtroppo da qualche ora la mia connessione internet non funziona.
Mi dispiace sentire che la sua connessione internet non funziona. Per poterla aiutare, ho bisogno del numero del suo account. Potrebbe fornirmelo, per favore?
Actually, sorry, can we switch to English? My account number is 1234.
Thank you. Let me check if there are any outages in your area. Good news! It appears that there are no outages in your area at the moment. Let's check if all the cables and connections are properly plugged in. Sometimes a loose connection can cause internet connectivity issues.
Where do I find these cables?
The cables and connections I mentioned are typically located near your modem or router. The modem is usually connected to a cable or DSL line, and the router
checked, and everything seems to be plugged in.
Since everything is properly plugged in, let me check your account. It appears that there are unpaid bills totaling $276.50 and 3 notices have been sent to your email address. This could be the reason for the internet connectivity issue. Would you like to pay the outstanding balance now?
Yes, please.
If so, great. To process the payment, I will need your card number, expiration date, and CVV code.
Yeah, so the number is 424242. The expiration date is January 2027, and the CVV number is 123.
Great. Please wait while I process the payment. Good news! The payment has been successfully processed. Now, let's check if your internet connection is working. Please try connecting to the internet and let me know if the issue has been resolved.
Give me just a second, please.
Take your time.
Okay, everything is working now. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you have any further questions or issues, feel free to reach out to us. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Well, awesome. You want to give us a little background on that demo and kind of how you did that first before we proceed?
Of course, we're going to see that in detail in just a few minutes.
So we're going to go over that very soon. Awesome. Thank you, guys. So if you want to bring my slides up here, we'll start some discussion here. So everybody here is probably called a traditional IVR and had an interaction that wasn't so pleasant. I think most of us get this when, say, you're calling your cell phone company, your pharmacy, if you're calling your doctor's office, maybe. The problem that we see here is that the integration of the IVRs in those sense are very rigid. They're not flexible and they don't take anything from the human interaction into account. So for example, if an IVR is asking for 2 pieces of information, like it needs your last name and date of birth, normally that's very rigid. It'll get one or the other or not both, especially if you only answer one. Whereas something like our AI agent can actually account for that. And if you say, give your last name and it knows it only has your last name, it can do the follow-up. So it'll take that human factor into account. So it doesn't really, it won't even call you by your last name properly, things like that. So it doesn't have that human factor. It feels more robotic. And some of these technologies, if you've paid attention, somebody in the background coughs or a door slams, your interaction is destroyed. It'll redo the whole prompt over. It can't take those types of things into account. In addition, like we showed in the demo there at the beginning, is switch languages on the fly. If you have a diverse customer base, you need to be able to interact with them fluidly. And having an AI agent being able to understand multiple languages and speak multiple languages can interface with multiple systems and figure out and service your customers better. There's no accuracy in most of what you see in the wild today. We've all called an IVR where it introduces itself with a male voice, and then it press 2 for sales, and the next thing you know, it's a completely different voice, different volume level, no consistency. What we're doing with our AI agent is allowing you to get that consistency, that consistent interaction with your caller, and be able to account for any variations in how the customer may answer a question or ask a question or fill in the information. In addition, if you're running a call center that has some of these systems front-ending it that helps you route callers to where they need to go, you still have a large cost involved in keeping a fleet of human beings answering phones for a lot of those tasks where the existing technology fails to classify those customers and get them to the appropriate department. So this is you waste a lot of resources and time for the caller calling in. And we all know that if you have to wait 45 minutes to get a human, sometimes you get frustrated and hang up, and you've wasted your time too. So you don't want to waste your customer's time, and you don't want to waste your human time getting these callers where they need to go. So you end up with lower customer satisfaction. They wait in long queues, and they usually are very frustrated when they finally get a human on the phone. And that's something that we're addressing with the AI agent we have. So right now, the SignalWire AI agent is an infrastructure that is used to create intelligent, human-like conversational interactions with your callers. It's something that feels very real. It can actually, like, if you answer questions incorrectly, for example, it could ask, what is, are you the owner of the property, for example? And you could say purple. And the AI knows that's not a valid answer. And it will re-ask the question or rephrase the question and try to get a valid answer that it knows you need to answer. And that requires minimal coding, minimal interactions from the development team or engineering to make those types of things happen. And your agent needs to have access to various backend systems. For example, caller calls in, you need to, like Daniele had an example where it looks up your account. You need to have an ability to call APIs and pull in data, look up information, and either validate or qualify that customer as to what's going on. And this is where we have what's called the SignalWire AI Gateway. It provides a seamless connection between various aspects of either your systems, all the feature sets that we have available here at SignalWire, such as sending SMS. We've got a bunch of other things coming in that area that will help improve your customer service experience for your customers. For example, like transferring callers. The AI can actually transfer a caller out somewhere and say that call didn't end up where it needed to end up. It could actually come back to the AI and say, oh, it looks like that extension was busy. Could we try something else? And now the AI can actually figure out what to do, how to react to those conditions where the call didn't go where it needed to. So this allows you as a user of SignalWire to almost code nothing. It's basically like a document that you would write up that allows you to just in plain language tell your AI agent what you want it to do and how you want it to behave. And it goes well beyond just like a list of questions. It can change and interact with your caller in a way that is it's new. It's taken me a little bit as we've developed this product. When I first started interacting with it, I treated it more like it was a computer. And I think that's kind of the mindset that got most of the existing IVR infrastructure where it is today, is they treated it as something that you program. I tend to look at it as more of a person and treat it as such. It's like writing instructions down for somebody to follow. This is the simplest integration I've experienced, and I've done research on multiple AI systems out there. This is an awesome technology, and I'm happy that we're able to get it in the hands of many people. This is going to allow you to do all kinds of seamless integrations with CRMs, backend systems, medical systems, scheduling systems, those are all available. So we're going to look at kind of who this is targeted for. For example, small businesses. So small businesses have an issue with scaling up. They have limited resources, and say, for example, you have a company that needs to have somebody answer their phone 24/7, but they can't be at their phone 24/7. So this allows you to define an AI agent that can answer your phone, take your messages, forward your calls, send you text messages when it's a critical issue. All of these things are easy for small businesses to harness using our AI agent. So this is allowing them to get the equivalent of a human to do tasks that can help them grow their business and save money. Larger businesses can also leverage this technology. For example, some of the tier one virtual receptionists, call routing, classifying, qualification of a caller, all of those types of things could be completely done within the AI agent on our platform. This allows you to design that interaction to the level that you've never had access to before. The AI will respond and react just as a human would. And it's quite comical sometimes the way it does it, but it lightens the mood for the caller. It feels really real human-like. And so a lot of use cases for this are, like I have pointed out, virtual receptionist, tier one. In the beginning, when I was working with it, I developed one that could troubleshoot technical issues with your cable modem. And it would literally walk you through the tier one run list of things that you would call in and need help with. And it would do it every time without fail. So, Daniele?
All right, so let's see how to build this. So we're going to write this agent using that we just saw the demo of, using Swiml, our new SignalWire markup language. And to do that, we'll open our text editor, and I'll start by adding some boilerplate for this language for Swiml. Here, under the prompt key, we can configure our prompt. This is used to instruct the agent on how to behave and how to interact with the caller in general. This is expressed in natural language, right? So it is considerably easy to define its behavior, like you'll see in a second here. Okay, we just instructed the agent to follow a set of steps to help troubleshoot the problem. And if it detects that the customer has unpaid bills, it will offer to accept a payment for these bills. Now, this agent is able to speak different languages, namely English and Italian. So let's configure this behavior. So right now we configured the English language and we specified a voice to use. Let's do the same for Italian. Let's now define the functions that the agent is allowed to call. We'll define 3 functions here. The first function is used to get an account. The user will provide an account number and account information will be retrieved. The second one is used to check for any outages in the user area given an account number. And the third function is used to process a payment given card information. And we'll configure this in the Swiml as usual. Now, the webhook URL that you see here is the URL of your application that will actually execute the functions that will be invoked by the agent. So your application will receive an inbound HTTP request whenever the agent is invoking a function. And these requests will include the argument used, the function name, and a bunch of other information. Now, with the purpose key of this function, we're instructing the agent on what this function actually does so that the agent is able to understand when it is time to call this function. And with the argument key, we're instructing the agent on which are the parameters that need to be passed to this function when it is invoked. In this case, for the process payment function, we'd like to collect the user's card information. So as a parameter, the agent will need to provide the card information. We'll ask the agent to provide this information in the form of a JSON object, so that it's simpler to use from our application. And this is it. This is the AI agent. So let's now copy this whole Swiml script and let's configure it in the space. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to my space. You can click on the left under Relay Swiml, and then you'll find a tab which is called Swiml Scripts on the right. I click here. And now let's create a new Swiml script with the button on the right. Under name, let's call this anything you like. I'll pick my support agent. And here we can paste the Swiml script that we just created. Now you can see that we have a new line here, which is our Swiml script. Let's now configure a phone number to handle incoming calls using this script so that the agent will actually pick up the call. Let's click on the left on the phone numbers entry. Then let's pick any of these phone numbers, or if you don't have any, you can just buy a new one with this button on the right. I'm just going to pick the last one here. We can click on Edit Settings. And in here, you need to set accept incoming calls as voice calls, and then handle calls using a Swiml script. Right? And in here, you'll find the list of Swiml scripts that you created in your UI. Let's pick the one that we just created, my support agent. Okay. And now let's save. Good. Now, if you try calling this phone number, the agent will actually pick up the call, but it won't be able to use the functions. It will answer you, but it won't be able to use the functions because we haven't provided an actual implementation for them. So let's see how this implementation actually works. This implementation that I built here is in the form of an HTTP server that needs to be able to receive incoming HTTP requests. So now, in this case, I'm using a Node.js server with Express. So let's see how this works. You can see that we have a function endpoint, which will be invoked by the agent. We just configured the agent to send requests to this endpoint. Now, in here, we can access a bunch of parameters. Like in this case, we are checking the name of the function that was invoked. So if the function is getAccount, we can get the account number that was provided as a parameter by the agent using request body argument row. And then we can use this to retrieve the actual account from a database. We're not doing this in this demo. And you can reply in natural language the answer to the agent. In this case, we are replying with the email address, the balance, and the number of notices that has been sent. Same is true for the checkout function and for the process payment functions. In this case, you can get the card information as a parsed JSON object using request body argument parsed. You would process the payment using custom logic and then return a response. In this case, we just hard-coded up payment succeeded. So that's how easy it is to build an AI agent that uses complex logic using Swiml from SignalWire. It's really, most of the work is in writing the prompt in plain English. So if you need steps on how to get started, you'll find all the resources that you need in this slide deck that we are going to send you by email. But while you're here, if you have any questions that you asked in the chat, we'll be glad to answer them. Brian, I think you're muted.
Yeah, let me unmute. I'll go over some of the questions I've seen in the chat here and then some of the stuff that's popped in my head as you've done your demo. We've answered David. He asked about if it was an open source free switch or a paid offering from SignalWire. Currently is a paid offering from SignalWire, but you could take the AI agent and bolt on to your existing free switch and send the calls into our platform. And that's kind of what Abby was pointing out in her response there. So does somebody have a specific, Ryan said, can Swiml scripts keep state at all? Ryan, what kind of state are we talking about? Like information? Most of it is not kept at this point. The Swiml script will start over at the beginning of the call. if, say, it were disconnected. There are ways that we could, address that. Python server samples. Daniele, do we have any Python samples?
I
I
don't
do
think we
have.
have.
We don't have well, I might have one. I'll have to get with Noah and see. I think I do have an example of doing this in Python.
Yeah, but the core of it is really independent of the language, right? So it's just a simple HTTP server that you use to answer requests. You get text data in and you emit text data out, and in the middle you do any logic that you need to do in your preferred programming language or framework.
Yeah, John just posted the sample I was thinking about. Python is right there in the SignalWire ML examples repo under Python. There's also a SWML writer in there that will help you programmatically write your SWML if you need to. Let's see here. Any hard limits for performance considerations for the size of the prompt? Well, there are some limits there, but there are ways around that, Ryan. Like you said, example, trying to get a frequently asked questions processed. You could create a function that you pass the question to and return additional prompt information from, so that you're not feeding it the entire FAQ when it isn't needed for every call. So you could have a get fact function that passes the question to it, and then you could use some processing on the back end to get that answer on the fly as well. So you're limiting what you're doing in your initial prompt. Let's see here. So is the challenge to decide a list of possible questions and answers to those questions in order to properly train? No, well, let me address something here, Mark. This is what Mark asked. One thing I think you don't have to think about it as training so much. Like I pointed out, like the frequently asked questions, you could create additional functions to pull that data in on the fly as needed for each question. But all in all, you are writing down instructions in just plain English to dictate how your AI agent is going to react and respond to the user. And then David Patton has asked, possible to have an AI agent engage with a customer sales process that would include completing the sell? David, that's a creative use. I don't see why it couldn't. With some of the more complex things I'm having it do, I'm building Lego bricks of pieces of those types of things just for testing. It's absolutely something that I see it could do. David, if you could post in, he's asked about the Docker samples. If you could post those in, I'll see if we can get that addressed for you, and I'll get with Chelsea and get your email and follow up with you after this call. It's not GPT-4 under the hood. The get account function didn't declare anything called account number. So how do I get request body arguments, raw, return it? Okay. Do you want to address that? Because that is something that's coming in some documentation that'll clarify that a little bit, Robert. We do have a way of defining function arguments when you set up your SWML so that you could get the account number split out into, and then your function would just consume a blob of JSON, which would be in the format with the arguments and the data you need. Oren has asked, where is the AI part of it? Well, that's on our back end. As the ASR feeds in, we feed that through to the language model and get the output and feed that to TTS and close that loop.
Yeah, and you probably missed the initial demo, but I think we can link it somewhere, or you can see it in the recording of this event. The initial demo was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's something I was testing last week with one of my team members. We were just double checking that the multilingual stuff was in our list of things to document properly, and make sure it did what we expected it to do. So it did behave as expected. And I actually have a demo of one that can speak 8 languages. I can't speak them all, but it is fun to use Google to swap between them as needed. Mark, there really isn't. Let's see here. Let's see here. David has asked, so integrating with our on-prem free switch, which amount to making API calls to SignalWire Cloud, and where can we find pricing? The pricing will be on our website. David, I will get with Chelsea and I will connect you with our sales team, and we'll discuss kind of what your use case is and go from there. Stephen, it's hard to get the language model to accept email addresses. He's asking, just like purple isn't a proper response, can it validate email addresses? Um, that's a hard one to collect with ASR, especially over the phone. I am still working on that. Now we've got some options in mind. I don't want to go over them right now, but we do have some things at play that we could do to interact with the end user to get those things in a more deterministic way. Can you call the one you created on speaker so we can hear how it sounds answering the phone? Or maybe we call it. Well, if you go to our blog, if you've not done this, where there was a post last week that actually has a demo with a Swimmels and all the information that I did and a phone number you can call, I put together an after hours HVAC answering AI. Her name is Rachel, and it is on our website. I will make sure that that's included in our marketing material back to anybody that needs the video and links. But it is one you can call today and you can tell her you have issues with your air conditioner, and she'll go through a complete run list, collect the data, and then post that back in a formatted JSON. Let's see here. Can you link up what we need to get this all working end to end? James Tag. Yeah, that's somebody just posted the link for the phone number for the demo for Rachel in the chat as well. Chelsea did. James, I'm going to be working on, I think what you want is kind of like end to end, soup to nuts, kind of this is how you do it in rapid succession. And I've got to work from that on that particular kind of presentation from both ends. I gotta get something that people that learn from example faster, and then the other end of that, people that learn from documentation faster. So I kind of got to do both ends of that equation at the same time, and that's in process right now.
Ryan, yes, definitely. When functions are invoked, you get metadata information like the ID of the call and additional things, additional metadata and IDs that can be useful for your application. You also have the option of getting a final webhook request, which includes additional information like the whole log of your whole conversation. So you can do additional processing on that.
You do also get the entire log of the conversation for each swag function that gets called as well. So you have all of that handy at all step of the way here. Yeah, James, I learned the same way. So I absolutely will get an example like you want. And that's kind of what the HVAC demo has, but it doesn't have functions in it yet. And I'm going to update it to have some functions in there to give some more demo. So if everybody gets the number out of chat, again, I'll say it so for those that are listening to the video later, it's country code 1, area code 918-405-2045. And you can call that. That's going to be there for a while. And it's an interesting demo. And I would love if you go in and try to give her a hard time. Now, she actually has a function that I gave her last week. She uses the Google address validation API to actually verify the address you give is correct. She doesn't get too pushy with it. If she can't validate it through there, she'll write down what she has. Everybody still able to hear us? What about privacy? What do you use our call transcripts and logs for? Currently, that we don't really use your logs or transcripts for anything. If you call support, we may need to look at that information. But right now, we don't use it for anything. We don't use it to train anything. We don't use it at all. It's just passed back to you guys through the webhooks. And a lot of what we're discussing here will be within our dashboard over the coming weeks. So if you don't have a SignalWire space yet, or you have anybody that needs to be added to a space, get that done as soon as possible. And that way they can see it when this all comes out. And yes, so this is recorded. Everyone will be able to get a copy of this. Any other questions? Awesome.
Yeah, it is live now.
Yes. So anybody that wants to get in touch with sales to discuss this, just reply to the email we're going to send out. We'll get you guys hooked up. If you have use cases that maybe are unique or you're not sure that the AI agent can handle, I would love to hear about them. I'm trying to round up some very unique, interesting cases for demonstration. Like and Anderson Romero asked, their company specializes in restaurant grade phone systems, exploring ways to integrate AI technology into our services for our customers. Is it a suitable method for implementing AI to enhance their Yeah, are you looking at doing like orders? You could do things like place orders over the phone. You would be able to give it the full instruction list, the menu, and be able to get that information in a way that you could put it into, say, a POS system to process that order. Any other questions, guys? All right, let's see here. Also, if anybody has any feedback on if you go to developer.signalwire.com, if you have any feedback under the Swimler AI area, or you have questions that aren't properly covered there, by all means, open a support ticket. Those will funnel into to me and my team, and we'll figure out where we have blind spots in the documentation and ensure to get those solved. David, you'll get the materials soon. Yes, chat is coming. We are planning on chat. The ultimate goal is to be able to take a phone call from a text message to a chat to a phone call, or any combination of those things, and be able to keep and transfer that context. We've all had that where you call into a system and it collects your account number, your PIN, and you got to do it all over again when you get on the phone with the agent. Also, I want to just make everybody aware, if you're having difficulty with getting it to, like, you get logged in, you do your swiml sample, you modify your prompt, and you're not getting the expected behaviors, I want you to open a support ticket on those as well. I want to see, there's documentation that we could probably create that would help you uh, write prompts in a way that gets the AI to do exactly what you want in a consistent manner. I've learned a few of these techniques over the development of our AI agent, and there's so many variations. It depends on what you're trying to get it to do, where you need to make clarity. Spanish is available. It can understand Spanish and speak Spanish. The wonderful thing about this technology is, if I write an AI agent, for the most part, like, say my prompt will be in English, but I've switched it to Spanish, it can dynamically figure that out in most cases as well. Well, Anderson, one thing you got to look at when you're looking at the cost of AI is what it costs to have a human on staff to answer and do these tasks via phone in a 24/7 scenario. So the cost would be very competitive. Under the hood, in the blog entry, if you go look at the blog, we do talk about OpenAI under the hood in one blog entry. It is currently OpenAI, um, but it could plug into multiple others local. We do have other plans as well, so we're not locked in one place. Is it easy to build a company directory that routes to correct users? Yes, this is a fun one. That is an example. If you call SignalWire's main number, we have an AI agent. Her name is Sia, uh, and she can quantify issues. And as of this morning, she can actually open a ticket in Zendesk for you if you ask her to open a ticket. I don't have that completely working like I want it yet, but she's able to call the Zendesk API directly, and I didn't even have to implement the intermediate function. She's calling the REST API at Zendesk directly. But yes, that's easy to do. Also, one of the things in the room that a lot of people probably don't think about is sensitive data and asking about a company directory. The way I've designed mine is I create words or targets for each person I want to transfer, and then in my transfer function, I translate that to their actual phone number. So you couldn't have a caller trick the AI into giving out phone numbers for people within the company. It won't have access to that information, so it's protected. The pricing model works. We do have some new stuff coming out also on pricing, Anderson, about the context sizes. We do have some options coming for extended context sizes um, as well. All right. Let's see here. I think we answered all of these. Any other questions? I'm just going to scroll back here and make sure I didn't overlook any. Can prompts be list of users and targets? Yes, it can be. It can be, or you can create a function that translates a user to a target as well. You could create a swag function that just takes the name and then you do some fuzzy logic on the back end to figure out who they're calling about and then return Swiml to transfer them to where they need to go. Yes, it is. That is an easy one. The HVAC demo one is one that does exactly that. She also is aware of what time it is, and if it's within business hours, she'll have somebody call you back. Either way, at that one, she'll have somebody call you back. But I do want to add to that. Can this be connected to outbound calling? Yes, it can be. We can do out. You can connect it to outbound calling. This is going to get easier to do over the next couple of weeks. It's able to be done right now. I don't have the documentation published for it, but if you need help, open a ticket, and I will get you that and work with you to ensure that we get it documented in an appropriate manner where it's easily to be understood and replicated. Yes, it could support sales support, knowledge base. We do have it routing calls between support carrier and sales here at SignalWire. Um, it's doing a wonderful job of that. We used to have an after hours answering service before the AI agent came out. That was an expense where it would forward a call to another human after, when there wasn't somebody here to answer the phone. And that agent couldn't even answer basic questions about SignalWire, whereas the AI agent can answer questions about SignalWire, basic pricing. If you want pricing on SMS, she'll text you back a link to our pricing for SMS. Use the same bot for voice. Yeah, David, that's coming. I think I hinted on that when we were discussing. There will be a conversation API that allows you to do all that. That was also asked a little bit earlier. The ultimate goal is to be able to have somebody say text in to ask a question, and then follow up with a phone call and then connect that context together. How large of a deployment? You wouldn't have to do different projects unless you had some, unless you wanted to separate or segregate billing or anything like that, where you could tell what project was using what resources. ChatGPT can write up SWML if you feed it the definition. That absolutely could be done. I don't think it does natively right now. You'd have to pre-feed it, but as SWML gets along its lineage, it will get easier for it just to know it. And if you notice, Daniele was doing YAML when he was writing, and you can do that. Or if you look at the SignalWire ML example repo on GitHub, there's a Ruby, PHP. I did the Perl one. We have Python, Lua. I think there's a TypeScript one in there. I did that one with ChatGPT, but it's very simple. I'm just creating a data structure and rendering it into either YAML or JSON. But it's set up in such a way so you get it right. I'll put that link in here. There's the examples if anybody wants to look at those. And if you have any feedback, pull requests, or questions specifically about it, we do have a SignalWire AI agent channel on our Slack. It's in the process of getting connected to the one on Discord. If you want to join there, we discuss options there as well. All right. Do we have any other final questions? Chris, what resolution are you using today's presentation? This is running in 720p, 20 frames a second. Oh, how does this integrate with a third-party PBX? Well, Steve, you have the capability to point any SIP at your AI agent on the SignalWire platform. So if you wanted to, say, from your local on-prem PBX, send a caller to an AI agent within the SignalWire platform, there are multiple ways to get that into there directly via SIP. That's a possibility. And that's listed on the dashboard under SIP domain apps. That'll allow you to set up a complete domain that is used just for your AI agent. You can point right at it. All right, let's see here. I assume we can just keep our SIP traffic in-house and just use the SignalWire AI feature being discussed. You could keep all your SIP traffic in-house, but they would have to be a SIP leg to the SignalWire platform to use the AI feature. All right, guys, any final questions before we wrap up? Again, everybody will receive a copy of all the information in the slide deck. Any other things you have questions for, by all means, just click the little help button in your space, go down to the support portal and open a support request. I would like to help anybody that's running into any issues with this. Our support team is well versed in this, and they'll be able to help you guys move forward with anything. And anything they can't help with, I'm there to back them up. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. If anybody has any more questions, we're going to give it a couple more seconds here, and then we'll wrap it up. Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.